There are names in history that make walls tremble even 2,000 years later, but there is only one name that made Rome, the greatest empire in history, lock its gates in a panic and whisper in terror. Hannibal is at the gates. This is not just a chronicle of war. This is the story of a man who challenged the gods, the mountains, and fate itself, driven by a single oath sworn at 9 years old over a bowl of steaming blood. A 9-year-old boy stands in the dark temple of Carthage. Around him is the heavy scent of incense and sacrificial fire. His father, the great general Hamilcar, places a hand on his shoulder and forces him to speak the words that will change the course of civilization. I swear that as soon as age allows, I will be the eternal enemy of Rome. In that moment, Hannibal Barca ceased to be a child. He became a weapon forged for one purpose: revenge for the humiliation of his homeland. Years pass. Hannibal grows up in the military camps of Spain, amidst the clatter of steel and the smell of horse sweat. He sleeps on the bare ground, wrapped in a simple cloak, eats the same rations as his soldiers, and knows every officer by name. By the age of 26, he takes command of the army. In his eyes is ice, in his plans is fire. Rome believes that Carthage is defeated and humbled. They do not yet know that a lion has woken up on the other side of the sea, and he has no intention of playing by their rules. The first blow is struck at Saguntum. Hannibal takes the city by storm, ignoring the protests of Roman envoys. When Rome declares war, they expect the legions to be sent to Spain or Africa. They prepare for a classic conflict, but Hannibal has a different plan, a plan that his contemporaries called madness. He decides to strike at the very heart of the enemy, where no one expects him. He decides to cross the Alps. Imagine it: 50,000 men, thousands of cavalry, and, most incredible of all, 37 war elephants. They stand at the foot of giants whose peaks are hidden in the clouds. There is no path. There are only sheer cliffs, eternal ice, and hostile tribes hurling rocks from the heights. The soldiers whisper of death, horses slide into the abyss, and the elephants roar in the biting cold. But Hannibal walks at the front. When a massive rockfall blocks the trail, he orders huge fires to be lit, then pours old vinegar over the red-hot stone to make it crack. He literally carves his way through the mountains. After 15 days, a shadow of the former army emerges from the snowy hell. Half the men are dead. The elephants are emaciated. But they are in Italy. Rome is in shock. It was impossible. It was against the laws of nature. But Hannibal is here, and he is hungry for victory. The first encounters, the Trebia and Lake Trasimene, become a nightmare for the Romans. Hannibal doesn't just fight, he plays with them. At Lake Trasimene, he lures an entire army into a narrow strip between the mountains and the water. In the morning mist, the Romans don't even have time to draw their swords before the Carthaginians descend on them from the slopes. It wasn't a battle, it was a slaughter. 15,000 Romans lay in the mud, and Hannibal hadn't even broken a sweat. But Rome is a hydra. Cut off one head, and 2 more grow back. The Senate assembles the largest army in its history, 80,000 legionnaires, an iron fist designed to crush the African beast once and for all. The meeting place is Cannae, a hot, dusty day that would forever enter the textbooks of military tactics. Hannibal sees this wall of shields moving toward him. He has less than half their strength. He does something strange. He arranges his troops in a crescent shape, bulging toward the enemy. In the center is his weakest infantry. On the flanks is his elite cavalry. The Romans, confident in their might, strike the center. The crescent begins to buckle, drawing the legions deep inside. The Romans cheer. They can taste victory. But it is a trap. When the center has bent back deep enough, Hannibal's flank snaps shut like the jaws of a predator. And from the rear, his cavalry strikes. 80,000 men are squeezed so tightly they cannot even raise their swords. A massacre begins that lasts until sunset. Every hour, 3,000 Romans die. On that day, Rome lost its consuls, its senators, and its hope. Hannibal gathered hundreds of gold rings from the fingers of fallen knights and poured them out in Carthage as a symbol of his triumph. Why didn't he march on Rome immediately after Cannae? This is the great question of history. His cavalry commander Maharbal told him, "You know how to win a victory, Hannibal, but you do not know how to use one." But Hannibal was waiting for Rome's allies to defect. He was waiting for help from Carthage that never came. He spent 15 years in Italy. For 15 years, he marched across their land, and no one, absolutely no one, dared to face him in an open field. He was a ghost haunting the Italian countryside, a nightmare that wouldn't leave. The Romans shifted to a war of attrition. The great Fabius Maximus, the delayer, realized that Hannibal could not be defeated in battle. He could only be exhausted. Hannibal became a prisoner of his own genius. He was winning every battle, but losing the war. His brother Hasdrubal, bringing reinforcements, was killed, and his head was tossed into Hannibal's camp. It was a sign the gods had turned away. Then Scipio enters the stage. A young Roman general who studied Hannibal's tactics as closely as a priest studies scripture. Scipio carries the war to Africa, to the walls of Carthage itself. Hannibal is recalled home. He leaves Italy, the land he held in terror for half a lifetime, without ever taking Rome. The final act of the drama unfolds at Zama. For the first time, Hannibal meets an opponent who uses his own tricks against him. Scipio finds a way to neutralize the elephants, creating lanes in his ranks for the beasts to pass through harmlessly. On that day, Hannibal suffered his first and last major defeat. The great dream crumbled into dust. After the defeat, Hannibal showed he was not just a killer, but a wise leader. He tried to reform Carthage, fighting the corruption of the elites, trying to raise the city from the ruins. But his envious countrymen betrayed him. Rome demanded his head. Then began the years of wandering. Exile. Hannibal flees from court to court, from one king to another. He is a living legend, a shadow of the past that Rome fears even in his old age. Wherever he goes, Roman spies follow. They could not rest as long as he drew breath. Finally, in distant Bithynia, Roman soldiers surrounded his house. Hannibal realized there was nowhere left to run. He was 64 years old. He always carried a ring with him. In that ring was not a crest or a seal. There was poison. Before pressing the ring to his lips, he spoke words full of bitter irony. "Let us ease the Romans of their continual dread and care, since they think it long to wait for the death of an old man." Hannibal Barca died, but his name became immortal. He lost the war, but he won eternity. The Romans built statues in his honor, not out of love, but as a sign of what a great enemy they had managed to overcome. Every time a modern general plans an encirclement, he is repeating Hannibal's maneuver. Every time a human being goes against the impossible, the spirit of that boy who once swore an oath at the altar lives on. Carthage was eventually destroyed and sown with salt. But Hannibal remained. He stands as a reminder that even one man, armed only with will and intellect, can bring an empire to its knees. He didn't just fight Rome, he forced Rome to become great so that it could survive him. And in that, he achieved his final, most subtle victory.